Well, hey there. Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, we meet a young entrepreneur in Barrie who's lighting up the gym world. Do you believe in Sasquatch? An Oro Medonti man does, says one or two he's encountered have spoken to him, and a father honors the daughter he lost to mental health with a ball hockey tournament in her name. Barrie 360's Ian McLennan gets the conversation started after this.
Chris Alley of Barrie is organizing a ball hockey tournament set for August 14th to 16th in Innisfil with support from the Canadian Mental Health Association and the South Simcoe Ball Hockey League to honor his daughter Destiny, a gifted athlete who died 2 years ago at age 23 after struggling with her mental health. I spoke with Chris about his call for a need to show compassion, support, and connection when it comes to people with mental health challenges.
My daughter struggled with mental health. She struggled with it for a very, very long time. Very, very kind, giving, loving soul, full of spirit and life. And I think the best way to describe it is if it's a physical ailment, it's something that everyone can attest to in some way, shape, or form and has been touched by. When you talk mental health, you're talking about something that's unseen. People can see changes in a person, but because it's not physical and it's all has to do with the brain, it fools that person to downplay their significance in life, to downplay their role in any way, shape, or form. And unlike cancer that eats away, mental health, depending on what that person has and what's ailing them, it robs them of their capacity to appreciate the person they are, the life they have to live. I do this not only to honor her, but to raise awareness of mental health and the fact that everyone has been touched by it, whether it's through family, a mother, a brother, a sister, an aunt or an uncle, or a friend. We all put on this mask every day as we go outside and head off to work, out the doors. And that old cliche, nobody knows what someone's enduring. It takes a lot of effort and energy to be mean to people. And it takes absolutely nothing to be kind. And that kindness can actually be the difference between helping someone that particular day when they just need someone to listen.
Now, Destiny took her own life in July 2 years ago. Introduce us to Destiny, and there's a specific reason why it's about ball hockey, correct?
First of all, Destiny loved her sports. Avid sports fan. We moved up here 15 years ago. We met Jim Lowe and Mike Allen, and Jim loved Destiny. He coached her for a little bit, and she just blossomed into this absolutely phenomenal young lady who loved hockey. All positions, black belt in Taekwondo, first female quarterback in her middle school. Loved ice hockey, but she absolutely loved ball hockey when she was elected to play by her peers in her elite team here in Barrie with Storm. And then her pinnacle was going to the international stage, playing for Great Britain. Destiny embodied so much spirit and life that Storm did a memorial award for her, as well as the World Ball Deck Hockey Federation did a multiple awards for her in Slovakia and in Dominican. In terms of Destiny and her mental health, it is shocking. And what people need to understand is you can't solve everyone's problems, but you can be there to listen. And no matter how much love you give that person, no matter how much strength that person has, when it comes to the brain and mental health, it can slip away so fast.
So tell us about the hockey tournament and what's going to happen over the several days in Innisfil. And the awareness part, but also what your daughter, based on what you're telling us too, is that she would want people to have fun that weekend.
Absolutely. Like I said, she loved hockey. So in order to have this tournament put on, Marco, the South Simcoe Ball Hockey League, he took the reins and got this set up and done in a week, posting everything through his league, through the Ontario Ball Hockey Federation. If there's one thing I can say is absolutely, we've got 4 divisions. Destiny was so good, she actually played in the men's divisions. So she played men's, women's, co-eds, and we've also got men's over 40. So we've got 4 divisions to honor Destiny to start off. And next year we're looking to add kids and youth because mental health doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter your age, your race, your color, your creed. Absolutely no discrimination with mental health, just like cancer or any other physical ailment. I've spoken to Liz Gromit at Canadian Mental Health Association here in Simcoe County. So now we're hitting in the process of hitting vendors for financial support, donations, sponsorships. It
and
doesn't
you have
matter
teams too from you're hoping across the province, or as it grows. And
I hope this becomes a yearly event. Destiny played from Aurelia to Barrie, Bradford to Brantford, Montreal to Quebec, all the way to Czech, even Buffalo. So I don't know if I'd said that, but there are so many people that were excited when she played for them, and she traveled anywhere and everywhere. And if you asked her to play, she was there. She absolutely loved hockey. So this inaugural tournament is about my daughter, keeping her life, her legacy. For every single person who's lost through mental health, there's a story behind it. And more importantly is it's not a story, it's a person. And I think that's the most profound thing I can say about this tournament is every single person who suffers from mental health, they're people like you and me. And I go right back to it. It doesn't discriminate. And every single person, God bless them, say their name, remember them. You don't hurt a parent or anyone by saying a name. It's not uncomfortable for us. It actually gives us joy because by you saying their name, it keeps their memories alive. And there are many people who reach out to me and talk about Destiny, and I'm so grateful for that. And all I can say is thank you to them, because when they talk about Destiny and they say, I was at the hockey game last night and we were just shooting the crap and we spoke about Destiny, that keeps her spirit alive, which is what I want. I want this tournament to not only be about raising money for a absolutely great cause, which we need all 3 levels of government to put more and invest more in mental health, but to keep my daughter's spirit alive. I honor her by doing that. I always say that, Catherine and I always say, we don't know what we ever did to deserve her, but we must have done something good, because she is an incredible, incredible human being and an incredible daughter.
For more on Destiny's Tournament of Hope, which is August 14th and 15th, how to get involved with a team as a sponsor or a spectator, log on to cmhastarttalking.ca/Destiny's Tournament of Hope. This is what Barrie's talking about from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely, joined by Riley McCullough, owner of the Warehouse Gym on Lennox Drive in Barrie. Welcome to the program.
Hello, everybody.
You have to be probably the youngest owner of a gym in the world.
I am. Actually, when I first took over the facility, I was 21, turning 22 within the next 28 days. So there was no Guinness World Record or anything, but I was Canada's youngest gym owner. The only other woman who owned a facility was 23 at the time, and she was in the States, and it was a Pilates studio.
Wow.
So I'm not comparing, but
How did this all come about?
so basically, this is where I believe that luck and hard work just ties into where opportunity gets given and where you're granted things based on your hard work and your efforts. I was working out the gym. It was Finest Fitness for about a year under the previous owner named Fabio. And I just grinded there 12 to 16-hour days, working, honestly, I'm going to say for less than minimum wage. I know my paychecks weren't what they were supposed to be based on what I was getting.
But you were passionate.
I was very.
Mm-hmm.
And so the time came, April 9th, I started working there. The following year, April 9th, I got promoted to personal trainer. Then April 11th was when the member came in 5 a.m. in the morning and he was like, he's selling the gym. I'm like, what do you mean he's selling the gym? I don't want to work for anyone but myself. Took it back home to my dad and I said, Dad, look, like, I'm thinking I'm just going to go to school, find another job somewhere else. Like, I'm working too hard. And my dad turned and looked at me and he goes, well, you already run the gym. Why not run the gym? And I kind of just looked and I was like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, kiddo, like, like I got to give it to you. Like, you're doing a good job so far. And so on the same day, it was like April 11th. I remember everyone was in the room. It was the accountant, previous owner, my dad, myself, and we had both contracts. And as I was going to sign over the lease for the gym, I got the email from Georgian College. It was like all in the same morning. And so it's like I either go to school, crazy debts, like tuition fees, loans, like working a 9 to 5, or I just take this risk right here. So I was like, you know what? Let's just go for it and have some fun and see what happens.
So you were technically running the gym.
Yes.
Did you have any prior business experience?
None.
So you jumped into this blindly.
Oh, yeah. I just knew I was really good at talking to people. And honestly, the previous owner, Fabio, he helped me a lot. He was, I would say, like a great mentor, really taught me what to do and definitely what not to do when it came to business. But yeah, I owe it to like him as well, too. Most definitely. Just listening and just being a sponge and not always saying like, I know. And just being like, you know what? I can always learn.
Yeah, for sure. Now, this is a very competitive field. There are a lot of gyms around. What sets you apart from the rest?
Man, what sets us apart? Other than me, right? I mean, I can only carry it for so long, though, I myself carried it, and Lauren as well, for the first 4 to 6 months. But I would just say it's like how we pride ourselves on the community and just like knowing people's names, knowing your birthday, like just allowing you to bring your family in. We have annual member barbecues. We have our 2-year event coming up on May 30th. So anyone and everyone is also welcome to come to that. But it's just how we actually take care of our members. And you're not just a number. One of the big things that people love about the Warehouse Gym in Barrie is that it is not busy. It is not crowded because, yes, for sure, businesses want to make millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But for us, at the end of the day, it's just about comfort because we can understand how hard it is to be in your head all the time and just wanting a place to escape, which is what that gym was for me when I started working there at Finest Fitness. So just to like keep that and like savor that and not turn it into something that it's not is why people stayed, why people keep coming back, and why even when they leave, they're like, why did I leave? Like, I need to stay at this place.
How many members do you have?
We have just under 300 members right now. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. And they all come to you for personal attention?
You know, here and there. But they also love Emily, Jordan, Judica, Brooklyn, Julio, all of my staff. It's like, it was me in the first half, which I loved. Who doesn't love a little attention?
Sure.
But like the way we were able to carry the name, the brand, the way we've been able to grow is because of the team that I have now. It definitely is not all because of me at all. At all.
You have members who have been around longer than you
I've been alive.
Yeah. How do they interact with you in terms of what's going on in the gym? Like, well, she can't tell me anything I don't already know. Is it that kind of a thing, or are they learning from you?
I would say it's both.
Yeah.
It ties hand in hand. And that's one thing as a young individual. I've met many other young entrepreneurs, even with the level of knowledge that I've learned. at my young age, I talk to them and they're all like, I know, I know, I know, I know. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I really don't even want to talk to you. I can only imagine what it's like for older individuals to try and talk to young people. So, one thing I really prided myself on, especially with the members who were so loyal and have been around for so long, was to just listen. Even if I didn't like it, even if I hate it, and I was like, that is the stupidest idea I've ever heard, I'm like, right. You know what? Like, thank you for that. Like, I understand. And it's just like, gaining the level of respect, which I think I worked really hard on, because the one thing that I prided myself on was that I need to learn every single member's name. I wanted to learn one thing about them and maybe one or two of their family members that they had. So building that connection with them first for the year and them knowing who I was, what I've gone through, what I'm trying to do for everyone, not just myself. And then getting access to, some papers with the gym and like having actual like allowance to do whatever I wanted to the facility. I think they just trusted me. There were some members, actually, it was kind of funny. It happened like last week. So I'm not in the gym as much as I would like to be right now, or as much as I need to be, honestly, because of the team that we do have. So even say a new member comes in and we'll send a message to the group chat. New member, Dave X. So mind you, these members have never even met me, but I will like reach out to whoever signed them up and I'm like, hey, who is this member? What's their name? And it's like before I also even meet them, I'm like, hey, Dave. And then they'll like double take me because they're like, how do you even know my name? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry.
Where
I'm
where are the
actually.
spy cameras?
Yeah. It's so sometimes I'll really catch people off guard. And I was like, what? You didn't think I was going to know your name? Like, come on now.
Another change you made or you were able to effect is you have a better balance of male and female members now than there was before?
Oh, yeah, Dan.
And that's a big deal.
It was hard.
Was it?
It was hard.
Why?
I think it's just because of what the gym was showcasing before.
Mhm.
It's all in personal brand. So with the previous owners being with the previous owners being male and promoting that like grunge fitness vibe, which I also love, I'm definitely here for. But then seeing like a young female owner taking the risk while also battling her own issues internally and physically, like with her own body and like being able to do all those other things. It's like, I've been told anyways, that it's just truly inspiring. And me just being bubbly, interacting with people, I'm just like, come in. Like, what do you have to lose? Absolutely nothing. So I think me just showcasing that, getting my other girlfriends to come in, still keeping that same like black and white grunge vibe, like old school vintage aesthetic feel, while showcasing that like you can still be like a badass mom, like a badass woman doing all of those things in like a predominantly male orientated industry, but still like conquering and taking over. And it's like, if I can do that at my age with like the support, any woman can do it in any area, in any space, with any equipment. It doesn't matter.
So I'm getting the impression that somebody new could come in there and doesn't need to feel shy, worried about
Oh, yeah.
these big athletic egos, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
The number one thing that a lot of members, well, not like aspiring members, do come in and say like, I love that there's no lunk alarm. I love that there's like not a lot of, we do have a good chunk of mirrors, but like love that like people aren't just taking their shirts off. Like there's actual respect going on in the facility. People actually just like wave and smile and say hi. Like it's not just a bunch of people with their headphones on, heads down, racing to the next set so they can take their shirts off and look at themselves. It's genuinely a community. It's like, whoa, okay, we got to go in there at 10 a.m. because that's when everyone goes in at 10 a.m. And I'm going to check on Rob and I'm going to check on Jeanette. And, that's when
Yeah.
Emily's at the front working. That's the vibe that we give off. People just go there to hang out. Sometimes I have to leave. I'm like, guys, well, we're having too much fun here. Let's maybe get back to work.
Wow, isn't it great, though, to have a job, to have a business like that where it's fun?
Yeah.
You've got the business angle of it, and you have to worry about that, but it's fun going to work.
Yeah, that's one thing that Emily, God bless her, honestly, as well, too. We love Emily, but she's done a total 180 as well, too. I've really thrown her in the deep end for a few things, but sometimes we're just talking and it's just like, it doesn't even feel like work. It's just a bunch of souls connecting and it's like, this is just our life path and what we're supposed to be doing to make people better and to build other people up.
You mentioned involvement in the community earlier. You have a big fundraiser coming up.
Yes, so I was a part of a business group. Well, I am a part of a business group, 808, the 808 Business Club. And so a foundation that really piqued my interest was the Big Brothers Big Sisters Foundation in Barrie. And so what we're doing for our 2-year event is we've reached out to a bunch of other small businesses in Barrie to do a giant raffle fundraiser to give back to them, just for young children who maybe need a little bit more support, a little help, just in growth in all aspects of their life, because I know I definitely needed that. And I would just love to get back to that.
All right. How do people get involved with that?
So the way you can get involved with that is you could go to our Instagram at the Warehouse Gym with 2 M's on the end. And honestly, you can just show up. It's an open door, open house. It is showcased as a member appreciation event, but this is like just a Barrie appreciation event for just everyone that's helped us along the way. If you're a new member, old member, someone who's canceled, someone who's even been a hater, just come and show some love. You can have a burger, have a hot dog, grab a day pass, enter into the raffle, and just come check it out at 46 Lennox Drive. It'll be from 12 till 3 o'clock. We're also going to announce our run club and throw in a few High Rocks classes because we are aspiring to be Simcoe County's biggest High Rocks training facility over the next 2 years.
All right. Did you mention the date for that?
Ooh, it's going to be May 30th, Saturday, May 30th.
So coming up very quickly.
Yes.
All right.
Next weekend.
Keep that in mind, and also keep in mind if you've been putting off getting involved, putting off your health, and you're looking for a place to maybe fit in really, really well.
This is your place.
That's the spot.
This is the spot.
All right.
There's not doubt in my mind or my heart.
And a lot of people, by the sounds of it, who are ready to jump in and help you out and get that journey started.
Yeah. Come to the Warehouse Gym in Barrie.
You mentioned an Instagram. Do you have a website?
Yes, we do. www.thewarehousebarrie.com.
All right. So you've come this far. What's next?
Well, Dan, what is next? We have a crazy big game plan with the team that we are still evolving into. But I would say everyone knows Total Gym, Finest Fitness, the Warehouse to be that heavily grungy bodybuilding-esque type of gym. But what we really want to push and showcase is the functionality of training. For sure, it's one thing to look great in the mirror and take your shirt off and be fit and lean. But how well do your elbows work and how well do your knees work? With High Rocks coming into place, we are actually looking to transition into a fully functional training High Rocks gym. We have Judica, who is out to Sweden in June. She is Canada's pro athlete for 50 to 54 category. We have Jordan Ford, who is also an amazing Ironman, triathlon, marathon. You name it, he can do it, honestly. Endurance coach, he's the man. And we're honestly just looking to build from the ground up the best functional training High Rocks facility and community where we just maybe go to the bars on Friday night after a High Rocks race, but then wake up Saturday morning and go for a 10, 15-kilometer run the next day. And that's what makes the Warehouse so great. And what we're continuing to strive for is that community aspect.
All right. For those who don't know, like me, what's High Rocks?
Ooh, Dan, High Rocks essentially is an 8-kilometer run, or it's an 8-kilometer race.
I'm out of breath already.
Yeah, right? So it's an 8-kilometer race. We're doing the one in Toronto. So 8-kilometer race, and in between each kilometer, you're either doing broad burpee jumps, the rower, the ski erg. You're doing farmer's carries, which is when you're holding heavy kettlebells and running around. And then you got sled push. It is crazy and getting heavily into Canada. And I just so happen to have the best freaking coaches in I would say all of Ontario, all of Simcoe County. So with that, we just got to take it and run for it. So if you're interested in High Rocks, beginner, new to it, maybe you've never even heard of it either, I would strongly suggest coming out to a class, meeting the coaches, and just having a great time. That's how they got me into this too.
Congratulations to you. Before I let you go, advice for anybody else who is as young as you and has maybe got an opportunity that's similar, doesn't have to be in the fitness business, but
don't be afraid. And if there's anything that you are going to quote unquote inherit, do it and take on all the risks, take on all the debt, take on all the stress, because you'll look back and regret it. Another thing is that being so young and in business is you will soon quickly realize that adults have nothing figured out and you're actually doing a very good job. A very good job. So, those people that you're looking up to, man, like it is not all that. No one has it figured out.
I've been around a long time and I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, we're all figuring it out.
A pleasure meeting you today. Thank you so much for coming in. Sounds like you've got a good grip on the fitness business and a good grip on outlook on life as well.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me in here. It's awesome. It was awesome.
We've had Sasquatch searchers on the program before, but this week we speak with a local author, Mike Patterson, who lives in Oro-Medonte, who claims to have audio evidence of the existence of Sasquatch. He's written a book, Invisible Giant, a true story of Sasquatch contact, and he's here with our Ian McLennan.
I think anybody growing up hears about Bigfoot, Sasquatch. They see videos now they can watch on YouTube. It's been something that we've heard for decades. How did you get interested in this? What's your connection to this creature that you say exists? Creatures.
It was back in 2007. I basically took up photography, taught myself photography. So I'm a nature guy. I'm always in the woods. My time off, I'm surrounded by woods at home. And at some point, I didn't have this on my mind at all. I'm just chasing.
You didn't go looking.
Not at first until I had this epiphany and to suddenly start looking into the subject. And so that was, shortly after that. And then it was 2008, October 25th. I'd been talking with somebody online for a bit who invited me to go to a previous area of activity, as he basically described it. And I had done a little bit of research on the subject at that point. I'd gained this interest. So at first I thought one had to go out to the West Coast. I had no idea, these beings could be found in Ontario.
And I think that's where I know my first introduction to Bigfoot Sasquatch was a video from British Columbia. That seems to be where the place where it is, so to speak.
Yeah, and then it also goes back to 1967 with the Bluff Creek, California famous footage, the Patterson-Gimlin footage, right? There's a lot of controversy surrounding that right now, but so I started looking into it, and then I met up with this gentleman back in October 2008, and 4.5 hours later, I had a close vocalization that flipped my world upside down. We were looking for them at that point, right? And when you hear, it was like a triple whoop vocalization that filled the forest. It was so loud. It sounded raspy, he sounded 10 feet tall, and he sounded like very articulated vocalization. It was very clean and clear, and it was something that it flipped my world upside down, put me on this journey. I've been at it ever since. So basically 18 years later.
And where did you hear that vocalization?
It was, I don't like to give locations out, but Sasquatch there's something to be understood as more than what most people tend to think. So, forested areas, they're in the forest basically, right? So it is.
What did you think it was when you heard that
Ontario
noise? What did you think it was when you heard that noise, or did you have to question yourself?
No, I knew instantly. And I remember it was an area that had some homes surrounding the perimeter. There was, I think there's about 5,000 acres in the region of protected forest. And I remember this lady come walking around the corner, and she's walking a dog, and she was closer than we were to the sound, right? And I remember she had this scowl on her face, and she looked at us and just kind of nodded. We didn't let on what was going on, right? And, I had to wonder after that for a long time, if it really affected her as, hearing that, because it was something so unique and so loud, just extremely, vibrating through your body.
Were there homes nearby, you say, in that area? Did you speak to anybody who lives in that area if this was a one-off, or?
I had spoken to people over the years, because I spent the next 4 years frequenting that area, going in there as much as I could. And I had several experiences throughout. And I talked to some people at times, and I had interesting experiences, told to me, but I didn't tell them what I was doing, right? I'd asked about, hey, have you ever heard this type of vocal? And it's funny, one lady told me, I've lived here 30 years, And I'd never heard that till 2 days prior to when I asked her, which I found interesting. And so
Vocal, you talk about. What about seeing with your own eyes?
they are something that the absolute masters of disguise, I'll say. They they stay hidden, but they have their ways of showing their presence, footprints and there's a lot more to this subject that I'm not going to get into today, but it's there has been visuals. As I showed you, I actually have another one to show you as well.
Yeah. So so maybe describe one visual that you do have that you could explain that what you were looking at.
If you ran into him in the dark woods, you would probably leave immediately. And it's kind of between ape and human, as many have described. His nose is very unique shaped, which has led me to gain some insight that they're not all the same. They're not an animal. They're actually a people. They have names and they have differences between them, just as we do as individuals.
What calling cards might they leave? Talk about going into the woods and I've never seen a bear, but I know they're there, or a cougar even in this neck of the woods. But whether it's scat, whether it's broken branches, are there calling cards that you look for to say, outside of the obvious footprints?
There's a lot of structures that look man-made that could be found throughout areas where their presence might be. And I've documented many of these over the years. But also when you're in there, say you're spending a night or 2 or 3 or whatever it is in the woods, sometimes, on a dead still night, you might have a tree go down close by. And I've recorded that a few times. So I actually, I record audio all night, every visit. So I'm running an audio recorder, so I capture everything, right? I have quite a significant, substantial library of recordings built up over the years, probably the largest in the world by far.
Is this creature, if it exists, and I'll say it does exist because is it native to North America? If so, where? Who have you connected with, to interact and go, I've had these experiences too. It almost sounds like, like somebody who, does the paranormal. Oh, I can relate to what you're talking about.
They are scattered throughout the entire world. Every region has their own type, like Australia has the Yowie or the Yeren in China. North America, they call it Bigfoot and Sasquatch. And so they are scattered throughout the entire world.
In this province?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've been basically researching the woods throughout Ontario since 2008, and I've had experiences in multiple locations, and I've never had any malevolence shown towards me, ever. It's always been benevolent. Some stuff might be misinterpreted. You get a tree go down or a rock thrown that lands near you, you might take it the wrong way, but sometimes that's just to show their presence. I've never had any harm come to me in 18 years.
Why did you write the book Invisible Giant? Are you trying to reach the doubters, or are you just sharing your story?
I started speaking publicly back in 2012, sharing my stuff, and I was invited to a property up in the Kawartha Lakes region to investigate this private property, and I had for purported Sasquatch presence, so I had some experience at that point. So I knew from the first night that there was stuff going on there. So I've been at it ever since with the property owner. We've been documenting ever since. I've had people over the years, when are you going to write a book? When are you going to write a book? So I started writing this back in 2015, and I shelved it at one point. I wrote about 80 pages, tossed it in the garbage, and I started again, and then I shelved it for years. And so this past winter, I took the winter off basically, and I'm getting this book done, and I just published it April 10th. And it is a book written like no other. There are answers to this mystery in this book.
What's your background? In terms of something? Oh, are you a scientist? Are you what's your background?
I'm just a layman. I grew up with an attitude, couldn't stand authority. I didn't like being told what to do, bounce from job to job. At this point in life, I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable in my own skin, right? So I just follow my passions and do my best to make ends meet, basically.
You kind of like hear like out of body experiences and et cetera, or there's always somebody whether it's science or say, well, this isn't what really happened. This is what you're experiencing. This is what you're feeling. Have you had that? Have you taken your documentation to so-called experts and been seen as you're starting to make sense, or no, there's another reason or an explanation for those sounds or what you're seeing?
Definitely. So we've lost 3 major scientists involved in this subject. So basically, it's a taboo subject for mainstream science but we had John Bindernagel, Dmitry Bayanov out of Russia, and there was Jeff Meldrum, and all 3 had passed on. So John and Dmitry both supported me. Dmitry reached out to me first, and John as well. In fact, John told me at one point, verbatim, he said, "You're so far ahead, it's a problem." Because they're trying to establish the existence of Sasquatch, and I'm way past that. I'm interacting with them, right? So they asked me to tone it down, even though they still supported me, and I just couldn't do it, right? I'm not slowing myself down for science, but throughout, John would use some of my stuff in his presentations, and he was regarded as the most credible investigator, researcher in the subject in all of North America. He had over 40 years. He was a wildlife biologist out of Ontario, but he was living in BC, before he passed because, that's where the activity was going on, right? But I did have the support of science at one point.
With so much talk, we hear about, especially, in the last decade or so, conspiracy theories and what have you. I'm sure you've been called crazy before, and I don't mean any disrespect. What are you on? What is this?
I get called crazy all the time. I'm fine with it in my skin because of the experience I have. I know what I have. I have a mountain of supporting evidence. I've had science behind me, backing me up. I've had countless people over the years contact me about their own experiences going on that are similar, that align with what I'm involved with, and so those who are true knowers, they know I'm speaking the truth, but the subject is really, it's divided. Obviously, there's, kind of 2 camps, right?
What would you say to somebody who's fascinated by this subject? Well, you know what, but I go in the woods and it's like, I want to see one, but I've never seen one. Is your case though, luck or, what would you say to a person who wants to head into the woods and see a Sasquatch?
Visuals are rare. If you see one,
how do you miss a creature that big?
There's things about them that it's difficult to dive into.
In a short time frame.
In a short time, but you will likely hear their presence before you see them. If you see them, they wanted you to see them, unless there are cases where they've been caught with a surprised look on their face. So you can tell that maybe they got caught off guard or something.
It's not a Wolverine. But it's
not when they're 8, 10, 12 feet tall, right? Standing on 2 legs.
So where does this? Where does your study, your research? You've spoken at McMaster University. You've been invited in speaking tours.
Yeah, I've done 2 lectures at McMaster. That was a few years back, and I've done several conferences for the native culture. I'm actually doing it again this year. I think they changed their location, though. Mm-hmm. This will be the 4th year of that. So it's I'm definitely, there's an interest in what I have.
I don't want to be careful with my words, but are you trying to convince people by writing this book, sharing your story, that Sasquatch exists, or you just want to share your passion and what your experience?
I'm basically sharing my passion and experience from things that I've learned that step beyond the normal, which is, the main part of this subject that people, adhere to, right? So it's just my passion, my story, and the experience given to me, which is extremely significant.
Do you consider it almost like a gift that you've been able to witness and both visual and hear?
Definitely a gift. They know our intentions. So if you're going in, with the thought of trying to kill one for science or something, you're not going to get anything. But if you go in there with with the right intention towards them, just curiosity, you're treating nature with respect, there's a good chance that you might have an experience, especially if you had the intention going into the woods to connect with them. There's a good possibility they'll come around.
To wrap it up, you've written the book now. What happens next for you? Do you continue your studies within Canada, North America, or do you have a consideration to explore where there might be other creatures in other countries?
There's a lot of strange, unknown stuff going on out there, and I basically stick local. Travel up into the Kawarthas, Muskokas, up north a bit, that sort of thing. And I don't really need to go outside of that because of what I've learned. I understand that there's a bigger connection going on here. So, I'm good here in Ontario for now.
So they live among us, do they?
Basically.
In our neighborhoods? And when I say neighborhoods, I mean in the forests around Barrie or Oromadonti or District of Muskoka?
The possibility is there.
Would you ever disclose locations in Ontario where you've seen, or have you say you've seen them in Ontario?
I do give some indication in the book, basically, especially
you want to protect them though too, I think. Do you not?
Yeah, there's certain information you learn sometimes when you're in this deep that it's like, okay, I don't want to say anything, keep certain things to yourself. And other than that, what I share, it's for anybody with a curiosity in this. This book that I've written it's probably one of the best books on this subject out there to learn from and to go out there and make it happen for yourself.
The book again is Invisible Giant, a true story of Sasquatch contact. The author is Mike Patterson. You can find it on Amazon. And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian for his input, to Logan for his technical expertise, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcasts available from streaming services and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.